Welcome to Mostar, the historical capital of Herzegovina, in the country Bosnia and Herzegovina. With a complex history dating back to the Romans, it was ruled by the Ottomans, then the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and was part of Yugoslavia before claiming independence in April 1992. The wars that ensued were the worst seen during the collapse of Yugoslavia, and the city still shows the scars of its tragic, brutal past. We traveled the world full-time, and we chose Mostar for a long-term stay. Was it a mistake or a good decision? Watch to find out what we think. We've been living in Mostar for almost 1 month. Join us today. We're going to take you around, give you a little bit of a tour, and tell you what we think of this city.
We're starting from the neighborhood we're staying in, Bijeli Brijeg. It's situated on top of a hill, about 40-minute walk from the old town.
So far, we've really enjoyed our time in Mostar. It's a really lovely city. There's about 100,000 people live here. It's not too large. It's very walkable, and it's got a lot of stuff. Most visitors coming to Mostar are coming on things like day trips on a bus from Dubrovnik, maybe coming by train from Sarajevo. Most people only are here sometimes for the day, maybe a couple of days at most. The unique thing is how long we've been here, and I think it gives us a completely different perspective on the city as a whole, as opposed to people that just come in for a short time. We're going to take you to a market, check that out, show you what's around. So yeah, should be fun today. The city is laid out really well. It's easy to navigate. It has fantastic sidewalks, nice lots of space. You see families out all the time, people pushing their babies in strollers. People spend a lot of time out walking around. Not in the middle of the day. I will say it is extremely hot. We've had many days in the 40 here, and it's too hot in the middle of the day to be out. So we're out, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. It's probably low 30s right now. The high today is supposed to be 37. The weather station is apparently on top of the hill. The locals tell us that it's actually a lot hotter than that in the city itself. So when you come to a city like this as a tourist for a very short time, you really don't get a lot of perspective. You don't really meet anybody, you don't hear any local stories, and you know, we've really enjoyed our time here so far because we met so many really neat people. You know, sometimes there's a very strong language barrier. We had to use Google Translate to communicate at times, but we've really got a feel for everyday life in Mostar as opposed to, you know, just the old town. When we take you there later in the video, you'll see it's usually very crowded. So one of the big things for the locals on Saturdays is to go to the market in Mostar. So we're going to take you there. And there's a large market, all sorts of fruit, vegetables. Sometimes there's people selling clothes. Sarah likes to come down here and do her shopping on Saturday because on Sunday, like in many other countries in the Balkans, the grocery stores are closed. A lot of stuff is closed actually. Even in Mostar, you'll find a lot of times that there's cafes that are not even open. So you got all your local merchants come down, put their stuff out. Some have permanent booths, some don't. Got all sorts of clothing for sale here. The market inside is where all the hustle and bustle is, all your vendors.
I don't get excited by fresh markets, but Sarah sure does. She loves to cook, and finding a local market with vendors selling fresh vegetables and fruit makes her excited. It puts a smile on her face. She is like a kid in a candy shop. This is infinitely better than shopping in a grocery store.
So you got all sorts of fresh fruits, vegetables. Most stuff is here, but not everything. Sarah has noticed that there is no celery anywhere, in any grocery store, in any market. It seems to be the one thing that doesn't exist. I'm not sure why. You've also got kiosks that are selling things like cheese and butter. So it's a really good market. We're not buying anything today because we're actually heading out of here for a short trip to Sarajevo and then coming back, so we have no need. But yeah, the pricing's pretty good. What do you kind of think of shopping at that market?
I think the pricing's comparable to the supermarket, but what you get here is selection. So the vegetable selection at the supermarket is really quite poor by our standards. They all have garlic, peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, potatoes, and some fruit. But really that's about it. So if you want things like chard or okra or different kinds of eggplants, here's the place to come. And especially Saturday. It's really hopping on Saturday. There's the most vendors of the week.
Yeah, that's right. And then across from the market, where all the wives are shopping, you have all the guys hang out at the cafe bar. Just like any other city in the Balkans, there is just cafes everywhere. Really social, really outdoors. Especially at night, it really comes alive. You can get your olive oil, raki, pretty much anything you want you can get at the market. And then again, there's just more people with stuff sitting at the side of the road. The market is open 6 days a week, but Saturday is really the day where everybody shows up. In terms of grocery shopping here, like Sarah said, the vegetable selection is a little bit less than what we would normally find. But the stores are really good. There's large supermarkets, there's small supermarkets. Every single neighborhood has one or two small markets where you can get really, you know, some essentials. And then the bigger store will have obviously more selection. They got more floor space. But every neighborhood has, like this over here. This is the mini market Mostar bingo. So pretty much every neighborhood will have a bingo. There's a couple of other small chains as well. We have found across the Balkans that actually costs of stuff are pretty similar. There's no major variation. The selection of meat, I don't know, what do you think of the selection of meat here?
The selection seems better. The cuts still aren't really what we're used to, but the larger supermarkets will have a meat market. There's lots of local butchers around as well. Next week when we're back from Sarajevo, we've got one to try that apparently has the best chicken in the neighborhood, so we're going to check that out. But I would say, you know, generally the meat selection is on the high side of what we found on the Balkans, not price-wise, but selection-wise.
And one thing I will point out is the chicken that we've bought here has been absolutely outstanding. We've also bought pork. It's been very good as well. And we've ate out at different restaurants. Here, fish, man, it's great.
And you don't really think of, you know, a landlocked country like Bosnia being big on fish, but they do have a pretty good selection. We're only a couple hours from the coast in Croatia. There's lots of lakes, so you know, things like trout are readily available and really fresh.
In terms of restaurants in town, there's not a real wide selection of food. You do have sort of two sides to the city. You've got the east and the west. The east, generally more Muslim area, certainly has some sort of foods that are different that you'll find maybe in some of the restaurants in the west, but you're still going to get a lot of the same stuff. Sarma, cevapcici, you know, that kind of stuff. Very sort of traditional Balkan food. In terms of international cuisine, really there's not much. In fact, we've looked, there's nothing like Chinese food that we could find, Indian food. We looked. That's one downside for us, but you know, not a big deal. So in the city, there is a huge shopping mall, the Mepas, and it has, I'll show you here, the Hotel Mepas. There's a movie theater here if you want to see a movie. City's got a lot. And once you come, if you live in the surrounding hills a bit, once you're down in the city, it's flat. It's all surrounded by mountains. Once you're down here, flat, easy walking, lots of shade, there's trees everywhere. So the city is really almost two cities. You have the old town and the east side, on the other side of the Neretva River, and on the west side, sort of the business district, the city center, and kind of where most of the business is. And you know, it's unfortunate when tourists come here, they don't really venture out into these areas, and this is kind of like everyday Mostar, and rather than sort of the tourist thing that's going on over there. Yeah, here you got a butcher, got all your meat selection here, and then you've got, you know, all of your typical bakeries, right? The Pekarna. This is also where you would want to do most of your shopping. There's a lot of shopping centers, there's lots of boutiques, cafes, bars everywhere. We really enjoyed ourselves here, hey?
Absolutely.
So our Airbnb is on the west side. That just happens to be where it was. We didn't really know much about the city and the separation, you know, with the river and how that was. But it's been great, you know. On the west side is where you're going to find lots of Catholic churches, and on the east side towards the river and on the other side of the Neretva, you're going to find many mosques as well. So there's lots of stuff. There's a lot of history. We will talk a little bit about that. Not too much. We're not experts whatsoever. And of course the stories we've heard vary depending on which perspective it's coming from. So we'll just sort of take the neutral position and just kind of show you some things, tell you some information. I think if you come to Mostar and you don't look up the history, now you're really doing yourself a disservice, because it is hard to picture this place as a war zone recently, but that's what it was. And there's lots of reminders around the city about that. Buildings with shell damage, bullet marks, cemeteries. It's one thing to come here as a tourist and look around and go, oh, isn't this all nice? You owe it to yourself and to the people that are here when you come to visit to kind of know a little bit about really what happened here. And many of the people who are here, of course, if they're old enough, lived through this, participated in it. We've made a number of friends while we're here. This is the stuff you don't get to do as a tourist. People who were involved directly in the conflict tell you the stories, show you the wounds, shrapnel damage through the leg, bullets through feet, missing limbs. I mean, it's around here, and you know, and the residents of Mostar, for many, those memories, they don't go away. So today Mostar is peaceful. I would say the only area where there's not harmony is related to football. There's a lot of football fans in Mostar, and there's two teams, and every year they have a derby. They play two matches, and the fans here are passionate about their teams and which one is better. And throughout, on the west side of the city, you'll see graffiti for the support club, the support fans for their team. And they are Ultra, and the team is Zrinski Mostar.
We were in Mostar during the Summer Olympics. If there was a gold medal for support murals and graffiti in Mostar, it would be awarded to Zrinski Mostar supporters. You can't go 50 feet in the city without seeing some sort of artwork related to the team. The passion is incredible.
And on the other side, you will see graffiti for the team on the opposite side of the river, the east side, let's say, of the city, we'll call it. There's no direct line in the sand where all of a sudden east and west, and people live in all different communities, but you'll see the football team, and that is the Red Army. You'll see their graffiti. I like that kind of stuff. It's like claiming the territory. So if you're gonna come here and you're thinking maybe about staying long term, because that's a bit about what our channel is about. It's about being nomads, traveling the world full time and staying in places long enough to get really a good feeling about what the places are like. Maybe searching for a future home, who knows? But in terms of a livable city, I could live in Mostar. They've got lots of facilities. They've got a swimming pool. They've got lots of hospitals and medical facilities. In our neighborhood, there's a relatively new state-of-the-art medical facility. And we often hear the ambulance zooming around. And we also hear lots of the church bells ringing in our neighborhood. And as we walk right now, as we are going towards Old Town to the east, you will start to hear things like the mosques and the call to prayer. It's nice. Both sides, nice, beautiful. But if you just come and you show up at the Old Town and you don't leave, like, you don't even realize what's all here, right? It's a shame. Like, the sidewalks for walking here are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And the neighborhood we're in right now has these beautiful old trees lining the streets. They're just huge. They provide a lot of shade and they cool the air down when it's really hot.
I mean, look at these trees. These are amazing. The other thing you notice here, or I notice, is the car drivers. They're really civil. They're not impatient like many other cities we've stayed in. They're not leaning on the horn all the time, fist out the window. They're way more chill. You know, in the city center, you've got lots of green space and parks, but these mature trees really give you some relief in the sunshine. I don't know if you can see this, but up on the hill, there is an absolutely massive cross. When you come into Mostar on the bus, like we did, you can see the cross on the hill from a long way away. The city here has a great bus station and a rail station. The rail station will take you to Sarajevo. It'll also take you out to the coast in Croatia and put you out there roughly halfway between Split and Dubrovnik. It's not very far to there from here, just a couple hours. So this entire cemetery behind me contains gravestones with the date of death in 1992. Every single one of these people died during what happened here. And some of the years, you can tell, of course, how old they were. And there's everything from people that would have been 20 to 40s, 50s, older. But there's also, if you look closely, children as well. And it's just hard to conceive what life would have been like in Mostar during these times. You can hear stories, you can read about them, but you can also get them firsthand, and much more impactful when you hear it from somebody who was actually here. Here you have the remnants of a building that was bombed during the war times. And again, another building that was shelled. Here's an example of one of the many churches in the area. They're all very nice to look at. Religion is a very big thing here. Going to Mass on regular occasion, going to the mosque. So if you want to sit at an uncrowded cafe or have lunch without lining up, definitely get out of the old town. As soon as you start to get near the old town, you can see, I can see actually from here, just the swarm of people there. Everyone comes and they just flock to this one small little space. If you walk out there, you can sit down in no time. So we're actually going to walk around the backside rather than walking directly into the old town. So everybody loves an old town. We like going to see them as well. There's an old town wherever we're staying. Obviously we go there. But a little bit of the point of this video is, you know, especially if you want to maybe come and live here for a while, spend some time here, is that there's a lot more to here than just the old town for sure. When you get to the east side, to the old town area, I mean, the structures, they're obviously beautiful. Old, many well preserved, lots rebuilt. A lot of the stuff was destroyed, but you can instantly tell that you're in an area that's very different from the other side. For lodging in the city, there are lots of smaller hotels, boutique hotels, guest houses. All right, so I just want to show you this for transportation in the city. This is called a bin. It's a rental electronic scooter. You just download the app, scan the QR, boom, you're good to go. Takes money out of your account. You can zip all around. There's literally hundreds of these all around the city. You can find them. And you can see the graffiti behind it. Red Army football team. The other side, LIVED in Mostar. We managed to book our Airbnb by the month. And our cost for that is around $750 Canadian. But we are in a luxury apartment, 2 bedrooms, and it's a new building. I think we got pretty good value for our Airbnb. What do you think about that?
I'm quite happy with it. It's got everything we need. It's got a nice big balcony, decent location, new, clean. It's a win.
Yeah, I would say it's the nicest Airbnb we've had, and our host is the best we've ever had. We are standing here now at the Neretva River, and we're looking directly at Stari Most. Stari Most is the most famous attraction in Mostar. It's the bridge that was destroyed actually during the war. It's been rebuilt to original design standards and construction materials. And from here is where the jumpers dive off into the river. Again, more building destroyed. The city is kept clean. It's clean and it's actually pretty quiet. You can see here on the building damage from mortars and bullets. This evidence of war is all over the city, both sides. This place endured a lot. Thankfully, there's peace now. So around the city of Mostar, there was several nuclear bunkers built during the time of Yugoslavia. And some of the stuff that you can do around here is actually pretty cool. You can't go to those bunkers, but if you want to see the most amazing thing as far as bunkers go, you can actually go from here. It's about 2 hours by car or by private driver to Konjic, and there you will find the bunker that was built by Tito. We've got a video coming out about that. Another building that was destroyed. You can do a bit of boating here on the river. Rent yourself some time in a boat. Sarah's just gone so she can put her feet in the water. It's actually quite cool down here by the river. It's really hot up on the streets.
Whew, that water's cold.
So I know the price of local food in restaurants really well, and I can see already, and I know this because I've eaten down here in Old Town, you know, the menus with the pricing. It's, you know, you're gonna pay 30-40% more than you will if you walk 4 or 5 blocks to the west side of the city, right? I would say the food that we've had in the Old Town has been average, and the food we've had outside of Old Town has actually been much better than that. In fact, the best restaurant we've ate at in our neighborhood is a place you wouldn't even think to walk into. But probably the best piece of advice I can give to anybody thinking of coming to Mostar and the Old Town is your footwear. Do not wear flip-flops. Don't wear sandals. Wear some really good shoes, because these cobbles are difficult to walk on, and they're also slippery. And if you're showing up in high heels, forget it. You'll be walking barefoot. In the early hours and later in the day, this place is not busy. Not like it is now. Right now, it's actually not that busy. You got your type of menu selection here. Bigova korba, cevapi, sarma, plaskavica, dolma, sucic, japrak, mix, baklava. This is it's a typical cuisine that exists all around the Balkans, actually. Some places call them something a little bit different. Aha, here we are. So this you definitely put on your list if you're coming here. You want to come and visit, go inside and see the Museum of War and Genocide Victims from 1992 to 1995. We've been. You're not going to leave there feeling good, but you must go in anyways. So in the surrounding area, if you get a little bit outside of Mostar, there's this absolutely amazing mountain range here. If you can picture artillery positioned high up in the mountains, just raining down. Sheer terror for the people that lived here. You just can't describe it. Here's more stuff blown up. There's actually two bridges. There's the Crooked Bridge, which was actually built first, and it's a little bit downstream from the Stari Most. And you want to go check that out. It's less crowded. I think a lot of the tourists never even get to it. They don't know how to find it. And they sort of walk in the same little section and buying trinkets and souvenirs and postcards. Get out of there. Walk around both sides of the city, all around. If you're here when it's football time, get a ticket and go watch. Famous football players have played here. The most famous player to ever play for Zrinski Mostar, Luka Modric. There's a huge mural of him painted at the Zrinski Mostar Stadium. You got your Apoteka, which is your pharmacy. You got swarms of tourists on guided tours. If you're into visiting mosques, this is definitely a place to come. Mosques and churches. You obviously need to be dressed appropriately. I think if you're going in and you don't have the right stuff, they sometimes have stuff they can provide you. And another invaluable piece of information, if you're coming here as a tourist or you're coming here to stay longer term, no charge foreign ATM withdrawals at UniCredit Bank. So write that one down. A lot of these mosques were severely damaged during the war, have been rebuilt. Yeah, just reminders of the past all over. Really, how we feel is the best part of the Old Town is just people watching. There's another mosque here. So if you come to this mosque, you can buy a ticket and you can actually go up the minaret. It's supposed to be one of the best views. Not into climbing up a minaret in this temperature right now. In terms of food offerings, and this is true around the Balkans, it's pretty limited at times. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the restaurants that are here, the same menu exists at every restaurant basically, with only some variety. So as you get closer to the Stari Most Bridge, you can see just the number of people here. It's crazy. There's a guy up there getting ready to jump. So they collect money and jump. They don't collect money individually, and that's their pay. It gets pooled, and my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong if you're from here, there's actually a club that they belong to There's a building just to the edge of the bridge there. So they stand up there and collect money and jump, and that's pooled, and then the guys that are jumping are gonna get paid some money as well. So here's all your tourists with a tour guide heading through the town. Whenever I see other guys with action cameras, I wonder if they're YouTubers as well. And we're getting close to the bridge. You do not want to knock over any of these tea sets. So like the foot traffic nearly comes to a stop here. They're all waiting to see when this guy's gonna jump, right? We've seen so many guys jump off of this thing now.
It's the guy that's jumping.
I think if you're gonna film them jumping, you might want to go to the bottom so you can actually see, rather than just watching the guy disappear in front of you. Yeah, here's the Mostar Divers Club. So as a tourist, I think you can actually take some instruction, and you start off on a platform and farther off, and they'll get you up to different levels until you're maybe prepared to jump off the bridge itself, which is quite dangerous. If you hit the water the wrong way, you can be killed. So again, this place is so crowded. It's really not, I don't think it's a fun experience, to be honest. I'd much rather be sitting at a cafe down the street from our apartment, but it's cool to come here and people watch, hear all the language. In our neighborhood, you'll never hear anybody speaking English. Here you'll hear lots of that.
Son 30 metros de arco.
If you want to people watch, we recommend sitting at the cafe bar just 100 feet on the west side of the Stari Most Bridge. Here you can sit for hours and just watch people walking by. It's a parade of tourists stumbling over the cobblestones like ants in a line. You will see it all. People with cameras recording the action, families with children, young and old. From women dressed in niqab to women who have decided that today the bra is not part of the supporting cast. No pun intended. At times, it's a titillating experience. It's not all about the girls. Sarah thinks the male bridge jumpers are in pretty good shape. I agree. They look much better with their shirts off than I do, that is for sure. If I jumped from Stari Most, it would be a cannonball with a tsunami warning to follow.
Okay, so we're out of the busiest part of this town, thankfully. All right, so if you walk just over the Stari Most, keep going, and you can actually walk up the street a bit and look to the left, you'll see the Crooked Bridge. We ate at a restaurant down there. It was okay. So that's the old town in a nutshell. You know, we go down there maybe once a week. If I lived here, would I go there? If I lived here longer term, yeah, probably once in a while. Go do some people watching, find some tourists, speak some English. But other than that, I mean, there's just so much more going on in the city of Mostar than the old town. It gets pretty Pretty crowded there, and we're enjoying the local experience. Could I live in Mostar long term? Yes, I like it here. It is too hot in the summer. You'd have to go into the mountains. There's a lot going on here. I would miss not having foreign cuisine, but you can cook your own food and there's lots of ingredients available. So if you want to make something different yourself, you can certainly do that. I like it because if you lived here, it's walkable. You don't even need to take a bus anywhere. There are buses, there's public transit, yeah, as Sarah says. There is public transit. We have no idea what it costs. We don't see a ton of buses anyway. So we do have one more thing we want to show you today. It relates to the history of the war in Mostar. Take you to that. So as you leave Old Town, start heading towards, you know, the Centaur. It's hard to tell where the divide is, the east-west divide. Not that I'm trying to make it sound like there's this abrupt line. As I said, there's people that live in all neighborhoods, but you do see the graffiti for the football change. That's your indicator. If you're coming to the country Bosnia and Herzegovina, like all the other Balkan countries, you better like meat. There's vegetarian options, but we're not vegetarians. We like meat. If you watch any of your other videos, you'll know that. So this building here in the distance used to be a bank, but it was the sniper tower during war here. Snipers would sit and wait for people moving around the city, maybe going to get some food, lining up for bread. They would sit there and wait. More of the story of the city that needs to be told, that the tourists don't seem to come out and see. You can't even imagine the fear of people just going about their daily lives with this place here, and people hiding in it, waiting to shoot them. If you come here, you have to come and see this stuff. This is the history. So the currency here is called the convertible mark, and credit cards are widely accepted, so you don't need to use cash all the time, but there are some places that are cash only, so you want to have some money with you so you don't end up sitting down and ordering stuff and then now you got a problem because you got no way to pay. Your thoughts, Mostar, overall?
It's a good place to spend a few weeks for sure. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no need to just come here for 2 days. You can actually make this a vacation destination. Get yourself to Sarajevo or come through Croatia. You know, there's lots to see there as well, but this is a unique place. It's got a really nice city, really nice vibe. The people, quite nice, friendly, helpful. So I hope you've enjoyed spending the day with us. Have a little walk around, showing you the city, parts of the city anyway, giving you our thoughts on the place, some of the local history, maybe pique your curiosity to look up more about what went on here. We're gonna go back to the house, cool down a little bit, and we'll see you in the next one.